Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Cloak and Daggers here with another Entropia Universe video. Today, I thought would be a good day to talk about trading, specifically how you can become a trader today in Entropia Universe. Um, as you may have noticed, or if you're new to my channel, I just released a two-part video series on how to make money in Entropia Universe. And in that part two, I mentioned becoming a trader, or somebody who exchanges goods with players and then sells it on the market or to other players for a profit. Um, and this is, wow, that guy can't fly. Um, anyways, that was one of my ideas on how to make money in Entropia Universe. And what's nice about it is it's a very low risk profession for the most part, as long as you have an idea of what you're doing. Now, maybe you watched that video, and I didn't really explain how to become a trader per se. I just kind of threw it out there for you, and maybe you're kind of scratching your head and you're thinking, Cloak, how do I become a trader? That sounds like a great idea. I want to give it a go. So in this video, what I've decided to do is I'm going to kind of break down the steps of what you need to do in order to start down that career path if you so choose. And I will cover free-to-play players as well as people who want to deposit. Now, the only real big difference between a free-to-play player and somebody who puts money in is, as a free-to-play player, you're going to have to do a few things in order, or extra things in order to get into trading, because you're coming into the game with no money, and in order to make money you need to have some money in this game. So as a free-to-play player, you're probably going to end up sweating, unless you want to walk around and pick up fruits and rocks and try to make money that way. But honestly, probably the fastest way to do it is sweating, and even that's going to take some time. I just want you to know, with being a trader, it's going to be very time consuming, because as a free to play player, you need to build up some ped first, and then 90% of being a trader is standing around and yelling out in chat what you're selling and what you're buying, and hoping that people will come by and do business with you. The other 10% is actually selling stuff, until you get to the point where you have enough money, or have made enough money from trading, where you could like open up a shop or buy an apartment and put a shop in there and do some of your selling and trading through there. Then you can kind of do that offline. But otherwise, it's a lot of standing around, and that takes a lot of time. And you want to almost develop a schedule. This is actually going to almost become an actual job for you. So I want you to know that ahead of time before you start investing time into this. Is and the reason for that is, people are going to want to do business with you, and it's very hard for them to do business with you if you're not online. So if you're online at the same time on the same days, it makes it a lot easier for people to find you, because then they know, oh, he's going to be at this location at this time, I can go sell my goods to him. But if you're just kind of online sporadically on, some days you're on this, say sometimes you're on the weekends, sometimes it's late night, sometimes it's early morning, it makes it very difficult for you to get reoccurring customers. So having a good personal schedule in game will help you tremendously. Part of the reason I'm not a hardcore trader in this game is because I don't have a lot of extra free time to sit and yell and chat, or to even just to stand around and to have that consistent schedule. I just got too much going on in my life, between working full time, doing YouTube, live streaming, being a husband, all that stuff. It's just not practical for me. So I make money in other ways. But anyways, let's get started. So like I said, as a free-to-play player, you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to sweat a whole bunch and build up some income, or build up some ped on your ped card. And you're probably wondering, well, how much ped do I need to get started? And there isn't really a very specific answer to that. I would say at least you're going to need a minimum of 100 ped. And let me explain why. for most people getting into the trading profession, you're going to be buying stackable crafting items, stuff like animal muscle oil, iron ore, or iron ingots. Lots of little cheap things is what you're going to be buying. You know, whether it's hide, whatever. Once you have more money later in the game, then you can start buying like high markup items that you can kind of sit on and try to sell to people, stuff like that. For most people, you're going to be buying small quantities of stackable items, stacking that up to a larger amount, and then turning around and selling that on the auction. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why can't I just buy 20 ped worth of muscle oil and then go around and turn it and sell it on the auction? Well, the reason why you don't want to buy that small of amount and put it on the auction is because A, you have auction fees, and then it's going to be hard to get the correct amount of markup on such a small quantity, because the auction house, you can only go up in increments or down in increments of 1 ped. So you can't sell a stack of, say, 20 ped TT of muscle oil for 20 ped and 50 pack or something like that. You'd have to sell that stack for a minimum of 21 ped, and that can throw your percentages way off. Now, if you have 100 ped worth of muscle oil, you could mark that up to 101, and then see it would go up 1%, because the markup on this stuff is pretty low. And so people aren't going to want to pay 110% if you were, does that kind of make sense? I'm kind of rambling on here. But the point I'm trying to make is, the bigger the stack is when you put it on market, the easier it is to get your targeted percentage. And we're going to kind of get into that a little bit here. So once you have your ped, what I would recommend doing, and here I'm at Twin Peaks, we're going to head over to Camp Icarus, because most of your early buyers are probably, or early sellers, I should say, are going to be at Camp Icarus. So let's head over there. And like I said, you're probably going to be buying like muscle oil. That's where a lot of people start when they're traders, is they stand around and they buy small quantities of muscle oil from new players, because they don't want to TT it, but they don't have big enough stacks to turn around and sell it on the auction house. So you'd come over here and probably like stand on this rock or whatever, and then spam in chat, hey, I'm buying muscle oil at 101% or 0.5% markup or whatever. And hopefully some people would come by and sell you that muscle oil. And then once you have built up, say like 100 TT peds worth of muscle oil, you would go over to the auction terminal and try to sell it. Let's run over to the auction terminal and we'll pull up some sheets here real quick for us to look at. Animal. Let's just throw in oil. Let's see if that. Okay. Muscle oil. Okay. So here we got the auction sheet. Let's make sure that's out of the way. And so a lot of people are selling it at like 102, 103%, which is where you want to be. You want to be fairly competitive with everybody. You don't want to be the guy. Let's see here, can we go to page 10? You don't want to be this guy. You don't want to be selling 66 units of muscle oil for 151%. You will never sell it for buyout at that price. I mean, unless somebody is crazy or buys it by mistake, which probably isn't going to happen, you're just never going to get that kind of markup. Because the markup, because everybody can see it, is right around 102%. A little under 103%. So if you have 100 ped worth of animal muscle oil, you could turn around and sell that for 102 ped on the auction house. Now, you're not going to make 2 ped because there's auction fees and stuff like that. So you're going to make like a ped to like a ped 50 at that amount. Does that make sense? And then you'd take that money and you'd go back and then you'd go and buy more muscle oil from whoever and just repeat the process, and you'd be making a ped and a half to 2 ped every time you cycle 100 peds worth of muscle oil. So anything less than that, it's going to be very difficult to get the correct percentages that people will pay. Now you could risk it and just throw up whatever you have for just bids with no buyout and see what happens. But a lot of times people are going to buy it cheaper than what you want to sell it for, and you might actually end up losing money. That's kind of the basics of how you would start out to become a trader. Well, then where do you go from there? Well, then you can branch out a little bit more. You can start buying other stuff, maybe stuff with higher markup. Definitely want to aim for stuff with higher markup, because otherwise you have to move large amounts of inventory in order to make any decent kind of ped. Once you start making more and you've built up more, you could specialize in like ores and end matter. And like I have a guy that I specifically sell stuff, ores and end matters to, and he usually gives me a pretty decent price. And it kind of helps to specialize, because then you know what the markups are, you know exactly what you can sell it for and how much you can make on it, and stay competitive that way. Another thing I would suggest, once you're further into the trader game, is start looking for crafters that are willing to buy your stuff, because a lot of times you can probably get better deals, and they're probably going to want to buy much larger quantities, especially some of the higher level ones, because they go through a lot of materials crafting, and so they need a nice steady supply. So if you can get 2 or 3 crafters in your friends list that will buy materials from you on a regular basis, that can be extremely lucrative if you can make the right connections. And again, that's going to come from standing around and trying to buy and sell stuff at these different locations. Camp Icarus is a good place for buying cheap stuff from new players. And don't be a dick about it. Like, you know, be fair with people. Don't try to screw people over and give them nothing for their stuff. You know, your reputation is everything in this game. And if you get a reputation for ripping people off, sooner or later that's going to get around and nobody's going to want to do business with you. And you've really pinned yourself in a corner, and that's going to be hard to get out of. So make sure that you're fair with people. Make sure that you're able to make money without ripping people off. You got to be honest with people here. As far as like selling locations, Twin Peaks has kind of always been the place for buying and selling trading stuff. So if you don't have that TP, make sure you go get it. The weekends is usually the busiest place, or is when it's the busiest and the best time for trading. So you could spend during the week, go to Camp Icarus, buy all your stuff, and then on the weekends go to Twin Peaks and try to unload everything that you've collected during the week. Another thing you're going to want to have is get yourself the Calypso trade chat, or whatever planet you're on. I mean, you don't have to be on Calypso. Calypso is the biggest planet, has the most people, so it's the easiest to become a trader on. But I mean, I think every planet has a trade chat, so make sure you have that in your tab, and you can do buying and selling through there too. So you could be spamming local chat and trade chat for whatever you're selling and or buying. I've done a lot of business through the Calypso trade chat, and it works very well. And it just makes it easier because it's planet-wide. Everybody can look at, actually it's the whole universe can look at it as long as they have that tab open. But the chances of somebody flying from a different planet to come buy your muscle oil for 103% isn't very good. But just so you know, if you're selling like rare stuff like a weapon or something, a lot of times you're probably better off trying to sell it in like the Cali trade chat. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind. But yeah, I think that pretty much kind of covers the basics of becoming a trader, and I hope that kind of gives you a direction to go in. Definitely, if you have any questions, be sure to ask me in the comments. I will do my best to answer them. And I think that's going to do it for this video. If you liked this video, you found it helpful, give me a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of my other Entropia Universe guide videos. Of course, be sure to swing over to my Facebook page. There's a link down in the description below. That is where I do all my live streams now. I live stream Monday and Thursday nights. Those are my scheduled nights, but I also do random streams here and there. So please go over there and follow me. I'm trying really, really hard to reach my first 100 followers, because then I can partner with Facebook, which would be amazing and would help out the channel tremendously. Like, it'd be huge. So please, if you haven't already, go over to Cloak and Daggers Gaming on Facebook and follow that page, and you can like it as well. And even if you're not into live streaming, it would be huge if you'd go over there and follow me. Once I hit that first 100, I'll quit pushing it in your face. But until then, I'm gonna be bringing it up quite a bit. So I would really appreciate that. That would help me out. It'd be a huge help. And the Entropia Universe, you guys are amazing. You guys are always smashing the like button. You're the ones subscribing, and I absolutely love making videos for the Entropia Universe community, because you guys are you're so awesome. I love it. But yeah, and then my Twitter is in the description below as well if you want to follow me over on Twitter. And until next time, guys, you have a good one.